Hi everybody and welcome to SA Rugby Weekend Wrap. Mark, good weekend in rugby?
Great weekend. Not for me.
No, not for me either.
2 from 6 in terms of a Super Rugby, and the one I never picked. And I don't even think the Blues picked it. That they would come to Cape Town and smash the Stormers 33-40. That scoreline was what I thought the Stormers would have against them.
Well, clearly there's something not clicking Stormers. I mean, I'm glad James isn't here. It'd be insufferable this morning. But he's obviously onto something there with the Stormers. Not that I think the season's ruined. I think it sets up an incredible game in 2 weeks' time in the Shark Tank.
Yeah, they've been riding a crest. I mean, to take nothing away from them, 4 from 4. I just felt it's not so much even the result, and Dobbo said it as well. It was the lack of effort. It's them not pitching up for the game, the disinterest there. And they started to get people to come back to Newlands. You can't have a performance like that and then expect 30,000 to come watch you again. And if you're going to get beaten by a side who plays better on the day, at least go out there with showing a little bit of ticker. And they were bullied off the ball, bullied on the ball, physically dominated. And that's got to be a concern before they travel. If they play against a side like the Crusaders and the Chiefs overseas in New Zealand.
Well, they've got a tough tour. I mean, the Sharks had a pretty good tour in terms of the teams that they played. But I mean, the Stormers games are a little bit tougher, I believe. Yeah,
I mean, they've got those 2 in New Zealand against the top 2 New Zealand teams, as far as I'm concerned, the Crusaders and the Chiefs.
Don't they have the Brumbies as well?
And the Brumbies in Australia, who are leading the Australian Conference. Wake-up call, that's the word that Dobson used, it's the word that Kitsoff used. I just don't know how a team who's won 4 from 4 needs a wake-up call.
No,
and it needs to lose and lose badly to kind of re-establish themselves at the end of a month in the competition. If you look at the Crusaders, when they lost to the Chiefs, they got out to a 12-point lead. Chiefs came back, played very well in the second half and won. It was a good game of rugby, and you just thought they were beaten by a side that showed incredible defensive mongrel that day. They went out the very next week and systematically destroyed the Blues in Auckland. So it's going to be interesting how they come back in a fortnight's time. Lucky that they've got the bye, but a lot of soul searching, and that will be a very definitive game to show the character and the ticker. And Dobbo does talk about character of this side, but they've lost Peter Steph to Toy potentially for 2 months. They've lost Sia Khaleesi and they've lost Bongi. So they've lost 3 big players.
Yeah.
Let's see this depth. But still, for me, just an unacceptable performance at home, perfect conditions against a side that hasn't fired in the competition.
No, they haven't. And I expected a lot more. As James would say, they were cuck.
Cuck with a capital K-A-K. And you can't dispute that. And we will have James in the studio on Thursday, and I'll be giving him the cuddle and acknowledging that he has said all along that there are vulnerabilities in the side. He did pick the Stormers still to edge it, so we won't go there. But he has, from week 1, said if they don't get front foot ball, if they don't get that physical scrum dominance, how good are they really? And they were shown to be pretty ineffective on Saturday. Let's hope it's an aberration, because I think they're too good a squad to produce another performance like that.
Well, like I said, it sets up an incredibly interesting game with the Sharks in Durban, and 2 teams top of the log fighting it out. But if I had to sort of look into the crystal ball, all things being equal, with no key injuries to the Sharks, I'd have to favour the Sharks at home.
Well, I think momentum is with the Sharks at the moment.
Yeah.
They, I really thought that they may just battle mentally to get past the Reds. And when it got to the Reds edging ahead with 25 minutes to go, it kind of was playing out the way I thought it would. And then Kerwin Bosch, fantastic 48-meter penalty, just gave them that little bit of hope that we need just a big 20 minutes. And then they turned it on in style.
Well, he had a great game, didn't he? I thought he had played really well.
Yeah, and he has played really well. And I just love the way the Sharks are playing at the moment. And for them to get 3 out of 4 wins onto a huge effort, the key for them, it sounds cliche, to come back and consolidate that and not drop games at home.
Yeah.
So, as you said, it sets up a cracker in a fortnight's time. While these blokes down here in the Western Cape are licking their wins, the boys in KZN flying high, and deservedly so, and really playing a brand of rugby that's making everyone love them. I speak to my mates in New Zealand, they say Sharks our second favourite team outside of their team, just with the approach that they've taken. And And again, it's a multicultural side. It's the most transformed side when it comes to ethnic black in the country, and at the moment playing the best rugby of any South African side.
By a long distance. I mean, let's chat quickly about how bad the Blues are. The Bulls, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we both called it double digits for the Jaguars, who weren't overly impressive.
No.
They played with fits and starts. But I don't know who's worse, Lions or the Bulls. I mean, that's going to be a derby to kind of really look forward to when they play each other in Johannesburg or Pretoria. And I am being sarcastic there. But yeah, Lions very poor against a very average Waratah side. And 15 points, fairly predictable. Bulls at home. And if that game had been in Buenos Aires, it would have been 30, 40 points. But to me, more indicative also of the coaching structures that are there, not just the talent, because there's some good players in that Bull side, especially. Serious questions around Puerto Yemen's capability as a head coach in Super Rugby.
They've always been there. I mean, it's you're right. I mean, I don't think he offers much as a Super Rugby coach.
No, and if you look at the Jeandre Krugers, the Josh Strausses, the Morne Steins, those type of quality veterans, why aren't they firing? And there's never a lack of talent out of Blue Ball rugby.
Yeah.
It's a matter of kind of, we saw what John Mitchell started to put together in terms of the way they played, even though their record wasn't great. They won 6 out of 16, so let's not forget that. But you just have that feeling that they're not going to be able to win, and they have been hopeless at home. The fortress, the cathedral that is Loftus, it's like a charity case at the moment. You go there for your 4, your 5 points, and you move on. Yeah,
no, it's not exactly a fortress, I would say. But one of the things I want to explain to people out there is when we shoot the show on a Wednesday, and my Super Brew picks aren't picks that I bet on. I only bet on things that I write about on Facebook. So guys, don't. If I know some of you come up to me and say, "No, geez, you really backing the Stormers," and I lost a lot of money. I never bet on the Stormers this weekend. I had 2 bets and I won them both. So be careful when you're watching the show, and everything I predict is not something I bet on.
Yeah, and I mean, just if you look at it, you talk about that. We always speak Super Brew, and I think you do it on the show, and you also do it when you do the Money Boy show. You're very clear to explain to people what's a good game to bet on, where you can actually make money, one to leave alone, one that you just don't know. Both sides are so poor, you actually don't know which one's going to be the poorer on the day. And there is a big difference about just calling a game and actually putting some cash on it. But the real game from this morning in Los Angeles, and even the Hoff was there, he had said there's no way South Africa could win it. It's got to be New Zealand or Fiji. South Africa knocked over New Zealand in the semi-final, 19-0 down against Fiji, one of the great exponents of sevens. 12 points down with 1 minute, 10 seconds to go, scored the try, recovered the ball from the kickoff, scored again, took it into extra time and scored to take the LA Sevens for the 5th time, and got past the USA 12-10 in extra, like the last score of the game. Just a wonderful feel-good factor again for the boys in green and gold.
Yeah, but in fairness to the Hoff, I don't think he's a very knowledgeable rugby guy.
Well, he was at the end of those 2 days, because he was the one guy they were going to the whole time. He was in the tunnel. He was loving it. He had his life-saving little boy with him. He was his shield. He was out there. So well supported again in the States. A lot of celebrities at the game. And I think because the USA team has done so well in the past. But just, Neil Powell's rebuilt that 7-side over the last 2 years. A lot of youngsters, and they're finally coming through. And that's sort of fantastic effort.
Did you stay up? And what time was the game?
No, it was at 2:25. Anton Chayat, former province fly-off and dad of Jordan Chayat, actually tweeted when I got up this morning. I saw he said, got up to have a leak at 2:25. What an incredible leak. Just saw us winning extra time. So that's how I knew we had actually won the thing.
Okay, fantastic. That's a great result for the Blitz Pocket.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've got an interesting week of rugby ahead. The game that sticks out for me is going to be the Jaguars and Sharks. Yeah, that's going to be a cracker.
Jaguars, we'll chat a bit more about it when Bullet's in the studio on Thursday.
Yeah.
But they've always travelled well in South Africa, traditionally. They gave the Sharks a beating a couple of years ago. So different Shark side, different mentality in terms of if you take a Robert de Preux coach to Sean Everett. Very different mentality. And I'm really loving what I'm seeing with Sean Everett. He's backed youngsters. He's backed a certain style of play. And there seems to be this encouragement of it's okay to make mistakes. And it's okay to kind of drop a game if we're trying to progress our game at the moment. So I can't compliment the Sharks enough at the moment.
No. And, they've had the dream start, haven't they? I mean, they've just looked wonderful. I mean, out of all the teams that I've watched play Super Rugby, they're the team that stands out for me in terms of the way they play, their attack, and even the forwards that lack any spectacular players. But as a unit, they're great. They're playing well above they're punching well above their weight.
And it's lovely to see Notcher playing as well as he's playing. Wonderfully talented loose forward. They've kind of settled on a position for him, and just coming out of the Stormers province structure, he seems to have found a squad and a style of play that suits his game, and he's been so impressive, and it's just nice to see him playing with a smile on his face again.
Yeah, and for me, Kerwin Bosch is prodigious with that foot. You know, kicking, finding touch, just sensible kicking.
And again, a coach, you know, there was all that thing about Robert de Preer saying his son would play, Kerwin Bosch has to be a fullback, he needs to be developed more. I don't know what he had to be developed, he's an SA Schools fly-off. And Everett saying, Kerwin Bosch is my 10, I think he can become one of the best 10s in the country, and the only way we're going to know is by playing him.
Yeah.
And you can just see the confidence that he's got, knowing that the coach is actually backing him. He's not
Bosch
playing.
almost came to Cape Town last year, didn't he?
He's not playing for survival every weekend, as was the case under Robert de Preer Sr.
Yeah. Stormers should have maybe moved a little quicker on that.
Without a doubt. And again, you know, Damien Willemse has struggled behind a beaten pack this time, but he's too good a player not to persist with and not to invest in. I think...
I agree, Mark, but you know, one of the things is when you're winning, you can get away with saying that. When you're losing, I mean, because he just made some silly schoolboy errors in that game, huh?
Yeah, I think it's also, you know, second season kind of blues, as they call it. He came on the scene. You don't have an expectation that he'll get it right. He got it right. He looked sensational. And mentally, how is he coping with the expectation? And that's always the key with a lot of players, schoolboy superstars, and in that second year of senior rugby, when people have worked them out a bit and they're trying too hard, it's how he comes back. I hope they do persist with him at 10. I do think he does have the game to play number 10, but he's got to take a serious look at his game, and I think it's more mental than anything else at the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Anyway, thanks, Mark, for coming in, and look forward to Thursday's show.
Always a pleasure, and look at those Super Brew bets, not always the other ones.
Cheers.